there are 2 foreign teacher classes for the leveled reading. During the first read in Lesson 5, students gain an understanding of the story. Through the context of the story, students learn the meaning of the vocabulary and the story plot. During the close read in Lesson 6, students gain a deeper understanding of the plot, the characters, the theme, and the structure of the story. They also relate the story to their personal life. Each lesson has 3 main parts. In the Let's Begin, students are met with a warm-up activity that gives a little more background knowledge and an idea. They practice that knowledge. For example, in Level 1, students build knowledge about the 3 primary colors and colors that can be made when they are mixed. In Lesson 6, they practice using these colors and become more familiar with the vocabulary. In Level 3, students build background knowledge about differences, and they complete a fun activity by finding the differences in 2 different pictures. In Lesson 6, they use this vocabulary that they have learned to describe themselves. Props and TPR can help scaffold for students who need a little more understanding. For example, we can mix colored water or Play-Doh to show how the primary colors can mix to make new colors. Blue and red make purple. Oh, blue and yellow make green. We can use other pictures and props to demonstrate curls or freckles. In Part 2, they go through the reading selection. In Lesson 5, students have their first read of the story. During this first read, students are introduced to the cover of the story, the characters, and they participate in a shared reading. They use text evidence to comprehend the story. Notice the vocabulary words that are highlighted in yellow. These words have a pull-out tab marked V for vocabulary. It helps explain the meaning. There's also a vocabulary present slide where students can listen to an audio clip of the pronunciation of the vocabulary word, as well as see a picture and know the part of speech. And often the definition is written on that card also. There are also some hint tabs with the label H, and they can be pulled out to give the student a better understanding of the context of the story and a hint to what is being looked for. Pressing the audio button can give more context to the story, like the rolling out of the paper or footsteps as he's walking into the room. Extension and practice slides are also found throughout the story to help the students understand the story plot. By acting out the story while the student is reading, we can give more understanding to the story and make the lesson a little more engaging. In Lesson 6, students participate in a close reading of the story. This close read will use picture evidence to predict what will happen in the story and text evidence to comprehend the story. Before reading, students think about the big question like, who do you love? Or how are you different from your friends? Through this question, the student connects the self to the text. The close read also has the vocabulary and the hint tabs, as well as the audio clips to help the students as necessary. Throughout the story, there are also practice slides where the student and the teacher can act out the story by reading with a dramatic voice, or choose the correct answer with drag and drop or the clicking feature. Props and TPR are also helpful in scaffolding for the student's understanding. They also make the story more interactive and engaging. Part 3, Lesson 5 is a quick check of the story. The student answers questions and uses a reading strategy like compare and contrast. Then they retell the story using a story map or a graphic organizer. If the student struggles with retelling the story, we can ask different questions to help the student remember or recall the story. In Lesson 6, Part 3 includes a Let's Practice and Talk to check for comprehension of the story and practice the reading strategy that was learned in Lesson 5. They also relate the story to themselves by answering that big picture question that was presented at the beginning of the story. Some students may struggle answering the question. I can model by answering the question first. I can scaffold more by using props and TPR and answering the question like, who do you love? Showing pictures of my family and talking about my family. Then I can help the student form an answer using those same sentence frames, maybe starting off the sentence frame for the student and having him finish. Each of the leveled reading classes close with the student reviewing what he has learned throughout the lesson using a checklist.